Welcome to the deep dive. Just take a second and think about today's world. We've got all of human knowledge right here in our pockets. You'd imagine we'd all be getting smarter, more clued in, maybe even more on the same page.
You would think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it feels like for every solid researched fact out there, there's this equally strong, sometimes completely wild theory that just takes off. From ancient whispers to viral trends today, what is it about us that gets so hooked on these, well, secret plots?
That's a huge question. And
Hmm.
it really gets to the core of, well, being human in this incredibly complex age. As cultural anthropologists, we're always looking at how beliefs aren't just about individual logic, right? They're tangled up in our social worlds, our cultural norms.
Hmm.
So our mission today is to kind of peel back those layers. We want to understand why conspiracy theories stick around, sure, but more than that, how they actually spread and maybe what they tell us about ourselves, about human nature, and the societies we build.
Right. It's not just about saying that's wrong.
Exactly. It's about understanding the why. What makes these stories so compelling, so powerful?
Okay, so we're going on a bit of a journey then. Through history, psychology, the digital maze. We'll explore the hidden forces driving these beliefs, how they shape things, and what it all means for you, trying to make sense of it all. What are those social patterns, those cultural assumptions we might be missing? Let's dig in.
That's good.
One thing that really jumped out at me right from the start looking into this was just how old this whole conspiracy theory thing is. We tend to think of it as, a modern internet problem.
Right, fueled by social media.
Yeah, exactly. But this human impulse to find these big secret explanations for stuff we don't get, that goes way, way back.
Oh, absolutely. That's a crucial point to start with. It's fascinating how the stories change, but the underlying function, that need for explanation, stays pretty constant. Think about ancient Rome.
Okay.
Early Christians were often accused of these secret plots, plotting to overthrow the empire. They got blamed for plagues, famines, you name it. Or jump forward to medieval Europe. Jewish communities were tragically scapegoated for the Black Death, accused of poisoning wells. These weren't just like random outbursts. They were complex stories that gave people a target, an explanation, however false, for terrifying chaos.
So it provides a kind of order, even if it's a sinister order.
Precisely. It imposes a narrative onto frightening events.
Okay, so the human need is ancient. But if that desire for these hidden truths has always been simmering, what's really shifted today? Because it feels radically different now, the sheer intensity of it all.
It absolutely is different. The core conspiracy thinking might be old, but the context, that's changed everything. It's the speed, the incredible scale, and honestly, the sophisticated way these theories get packaged and spread now.
Packaged, like how they're presented.
Yeah, the memes, the videos, the slick websites, it's a whole different ballgame compared to, say, a pamphlet passed hand to hand.
Yeah.
The information environment itself has fundamentally changed.
Okay, so that's the external shift. What about inside our heads? What's the psychological wiring that makes us, susceptible?
Yeah, this gets into some really interesting cognitive psychology. One of the big ones is our brain's tendency for pattern seeking. We're basically hardwired to find order, to connect dots, even when there's just randomness.
Like seeing faces in clouds?
Exactly like that, but
Hmm.
applied to events. It was a useful adaptation for our ancestors, right? Spotting predators in the bushes, finding food sources. But now, in our complex world, that same wiring can make us see plots and connections where there's just complexity or chance.
So our brains kind of hate randomness. They'd rather have a conspiracy than chaos.
In a way, yes. A conspiracy, even a scary one, offers a kind of explanation, a structure. Randomness can feel deeply unsettling.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And building on that, there's also this deep need for control, right? Especially when things feel uncertain.
Huge factor. When people feel powerless, when things seem chaotic or unfair, when institutions seem to be failing them. Conspiracy theories can offer this, well, almost perverse sense of understanding and agency.
How so? Agency.
Well, if things aren't random, if they're being controlled by some hidden group, then at least there's a reason things are happening. It makes the world feel less arbitrary. And maybe, just maybe, if you understand the real story, you can protect yourself or even fight back.
Ah, okay. So it provides a map, even if the map leads nowhere real.
A map and maybe a villain. That's why you see these theories surge during crises, economic downturns, pandemics, big social shifts. People are grasping for explanations for a sense of control they've lost.
And then once someone starts believing one of these, How does their brain kind of lock it in, make it hard to shake, even with evidence?
Right, that's where confirmation bias really kicks into high gear. It's not just passively noticing things that fit your belief. It's an active process.
Active how?
Your brain starts actively seeking out information that confirms what you already think, and simultaneously it finds ways to dismiss, ignore, or reinterpret anything that contradicts it. Contradictory evidence might even be seen as proof of the cover-up.
Wow. So the evidence against the theory becomes part of the theory.
Often, yes.
Well,
It creates this powerful feedback loop, what we call an echo chamber or a filter bubble. You end up surrounded only by information that reinforces the belief, making it incredibly hard to question it or even encounter opposing views seriously.
Okay, so that's the individual psychology, but these things rarely stay just in one person's head. How do they become social? How do they build communities, that whole us versus them feeling?
Yeah, and this is where the cultural anthropology lens is so useful. Many conspiracy theories are incredibly effective at building group identity. They often draw a very sharp line between us, the enlightened few who see the truth, and them, the ignorant, manipulated masses, or even the sinister forces behind the conspiracy.
So it creates an in-group.
A very strong one. Believing the theory becomes a badge of honor, a sign that you're smarter, braver, more perceptive than everyone else. And for people who might feel marginalized or disconnected from mainstream society anyway, finding this group, it can provide a powerful sense of belonging, community, and even purpose.
A shared secret, a shared mission almost.
Exactly. It's a potent social glue built around a narrative that often casts the believers as heroes battling hidden evil.
And then along came the internet and social media. It feels like that just poured gasoline on the fire. Was it just the speed, or was there something else about digital platforms that changed the game?
Speed is a huge part of it, definitely. Before the internet, spreading a theory took effort. Books, pamphlets, maybe whispers. It was slow, relatively contained. You could maybe debunk it before it got too far.
Right, limited channels.
Exactly. But the internet, especially social media, it's a completely different ecosystem. A theory can pop up on some obscure forum, and within hours, literally hours, it can be bouncing around the globe, reaching millions. Fact checkers are always playing catch up.
But is it just speed and reach, or is there something in the tech itself? You mentioned algorithms earlier.
Ah, yes. The algorithms. They're the real game changer here, beyond just speed. Social media platforms are generally designed to maximize one thing above all else: engagement.
Keeping you scrolling, clicking, sharing.
Precisely. And what kind of content tends to generate high engagement? Often it's stuff that's shocking, emotional, controversial, anger-inducing, fear-inducing. Conspiracy theories tick a lot of those boxes.
So the algorithm sees people reacting strongly and thinks, oh, this is popular, let's show it to more people.
Basically, yes. It doesn't care if it's true or false. It cares if it keeps people hooked. This creates this dangerous feedback loop where inflammatory, often false conspiracy content gets amplified simply because it generates clicks and shares, pushing it into more and more feeds. Accuracy often takes a backseat to engagement metrics.
Okay, let's try and ground this with a specific example. QAnon seems like a really pertinent modern case study of all these forces combined. For anyone not familiar, how did that even start?
QAnon is fascinating and, frankly, disturbing. It started pretty obscurely back in late 2017 with these anonymous cryptic posts on fringe internet message boards like 4chan. Someone claiming to be a high-level government insider, codenamed Q, started dropping these supposed breadcrumbs or clues.
And it just snowballed from there.
Massively. It grew from those cryptic posts into this huge, sprawling global movement. Millions of followers. It's a prime example of how these things can explode in the digital age.
And it wasn't just one single idea, right? It seemed to absorb bits and pieces from lots of other conspiracies.
Exactly. That's key to its appeal. It became this kind of grand, unified theory of everything for its followers. It weaves together older tropes, secret government plots, a hidden cabal of elites with newer, more extreme elements like claims of widespread satanic ritual abuse, child trafficking rings involving politicians and celebrities, and predictions of an impending storm where enemies would be arrested en masse.
So it offers this all-encompassing explanation for, well, everything that feels wrong with the world.
Pretty much. It presents this really stark, simple battle between pure good and pure evil, which can be incredibly compelling if you feel the world is confusing or corrupt.
And part of its resilience, I guess, is how it handles failed predictions, because a lot of those storm dates came and went.
Right, and that's where its adaptability is really striking, has these built-in defenses. When a prediction fails, followers aren't usually disillusioned. Instead, the narrative shifts. They'll
How?
say, oh, the timeline changed, or the deep state interfered, or trust the plan, the white hats are working behind the scenes, we just can't see it yet. Any evidence against the theory, like a failed prophecy, just gets reinterpreted as more proof of how cunning the enemy is, or how complex the secret plan must be.
It makes it almost impossible to debunk from the outside.
Virtually unfalsifiable, yeah. It's a closed loop. All information gets filtered through the lens of the conspiracy itself.
And then you add in the influence of public figures, celebrities maybe,
Mhm.
people with big platforms. That must amplify things hugely.
Oh, absolutely critical. When someone with millions of followers, maybe a politician, maybe an entertainer, maybe just a big social media personality promotes or even just hints at sympathy for a conspiracy theory, it gives it a massive boost in reach and, crucially, perceived legitimacy.
It makes it seem less fringe.
Exactly. It normalizes it,
There you
brings
go.
it to audiences who might never have encountered it otherwise, blurring the lines between verified information and baseless speculation. This is incredibly dangerous, especially when it touches on things like public health.
Yeah, the anti-vaccine movement is a really stark and tragic example of those real-world costs, isn't it?
It really is. You have overwhelming scientific consensus on vaccine safety and effectiveness, yet millions believe they're harmful, part of some plot. And the consequences aren't abstract. We've seen resurgences of preventable diseases like measles. And during the pandemic, vaccine misinformation clearly hampered public health efforts, cost lives, prolonged suffering. It's devastating.
And beyond the physical health toll, what about the psychological impact on the believers themselves, falling deep into these rabbit holes?
Oh,
It can be incredibly damaging. People who get deeply involved often report increased anxiety, intense paranoia, a profound sense of social isolation. They start suspecting friends, family, doctors, teachers, institutions become the enemy.
Leading to broken relationships?
Very often, yes.
Yeah.
Withdrawal from community life, constant fear, and in most extreme cases, as we saw tragically on January 6th at the U.S. Capitol, these deeply held conspiracy beliefs can directly fuel real-world violence against the very institutions they distrust. It shows how powerful these narratives can become.
It's not just ideas floating in cyberspace. They have tangible, sometimes violent consequences.
Absolutely. And there are broader societal costs too, right? Beyond the individual or immediate public health.
Like what?
Well, think about the erosion of trust. If large segments of the population don't trust elections, don't trust science, don't trust the media, don't trust each other, how do you solve any major problem? Climate change, economic inequality, public health crises, they all require some level of shared understanding and collective action. Conspiracy theories actively undermine that foundation.
They sow division and make cooperation harder.
Exactly. Plus, there are economic costs, healthcare spending on preventable illnesses, lost productivity, businesses damaged by rumors. It weakens the whole social fabric.
Okay, so given how sticky these ideas are, how resistant they are, how do we even begin to navigate this? This brings us to that tricky thing called the backfire effect. Why is it that just throwing facts at someone often doesn't work and can even make things worse?
Yeah, this is one of the toughest nuts to crack. The backfire effect is frustratingly real. It happens because, for deep believers, the conspiracy theory isn't just an opinion. It's often tied up with their identity, their community, their sense of understanding the world.
So challenging the theory feels like challenging them personally.
Precisely. When you present contradictory facts, it can feel like an attack. Their defensive mechanisms kick in. Instead of reconsidering, they might double down, dismissing the evidence as fake or as proof that the powers that be are trying to suppress the truth. Your attempt to debunk actually reinforces their belief in the cover-up.
Wow, so fact-checking alone isn't the silver bullet.
Often no, especially not for the deeply committed.
So if direct debunking can backfire, what are more effective ways to approach this, either with individuals or just building societal resilience?
Well, many experts suggest shifting the focus. Instead of just hammering on the false claims, try to understand and address the underlying needs the conspiracy theory might be fulfilling for that person.
Like the need for control or community or answers.
Exactly. Is the person feeling powerless, uncertain, isolated? Addressing those root causes might be more productive than just arguing about the facts. It often involves building trust, listening empathetically, which is hard, and finding common ground outside the conspiracy belief. It's more about connection than correction sometimes.
That sounds difficult, but maybe more human.
It is difficult, but potentially more effective long term.
And this really underscores the importance of education, doesn't it? Specifically, media literacy. What does that look like in practice, effectively?
It's absolutely crucial. And it needs to go beyond just basic Don't believe everything you read. Real media literacy today means teaching critical thinking skills specifically for the online world.
Like what kind of skills?
How to actually evaluate sources, who is behind this information, what's their agenda, how to spot logical fallacies and arguments, understanding even basically how algorithms work and how they shape what you see. Recognizing common tactics used in disinformation campaigns, like emotional manipulation or fake expert accounts.
So it's like giving people a toolkit for navigating the digital world.
Exactly. Especially for young people growing up immersed in this environment, they need to be equipped to be critical consumers and creators of information. Digital detectives, almost.
Looking ahead now, the future feels a bit dicey. With things like AI, deep fakes getting better and better, distinguishing real from fake could get even harder, right?
That's a major concern, yeah. Deepfake technology, where AI can create incredibly realistic but entirely fabricated videos or audio. That poses a huge challenge. Imagine convincing videos showing politicians saying things they never said or fake evidence of events that never happened.
It could make some conspiracy theories seem incredibly plausible, almost undeniable.
It really could. It threatens to erode our baseline ability to agree on shared reality, which is fundamental for society. The potential for manipulation and sowing distrust is enormous.
Okay, that's sobering. But is there any room for optimism? Can technology also be part of the solution?
I think so, yes. It's not all doom and gloom. The same AI that can create deepfakes can also be trained to detect them. Fact-checking organizations are constantly developing new tools, often using AI, to identify and flag misinformation faster and at a larger scale.
So tech fighting tech.
In part. Plus, platforms are slowly getting better, albeit imperfectly, at content moderation. And awareness is growing. Educational efforts around media literacy are ramping up globally. It's an ongoing arms race, in a way, but there are definitely smart people working on solutions.
So wrapping this up then, the core insight really is that these conspiracy theories aren't just about getting the facts wrong.
Not at all. Fundamentally, they tap into deep aspects of human psychology, our need for meaning, control, community. They're shaped by social dynamics, by history, by technology. Understanding them requires that broader, more cultural lens.
Right, it helps explain why they're so persistent.
Exactly. And hopefully, understanding those deeper drivers gives us better clues about how to respond effectively, how to build resilience, how to foster trust.
So we've taken this deep dive. We've looked at the history, the psychology, the algorithms, the consequences. We've seen these theories are ancient, persistent, tied to human nature itself. They aren't just going to vanish. So the question for you, listening now, is what does this understanding change? How might it shift the way you engage with information online? How you connect or maybe reconnect with people who hold different beliefs? How you think about what it takes to build a society that's maybe a bit more informed, a bit more resilient to manipulation? Perhaps the real deep dive ultimately is into our own minds, our own biases, and our shared human need to make sense of it all.